Sri Gurubhyo Namah children, welcome to online session. Already we are discussing the power sharing chapter. The recapitulation, in the first 2 pages we have talked about the ethnic composition of Belgium and Sri Lanka. Who were the different diverse groups present in Belgium and Sri Lanka, and what was the power sharing arrangement in Belgium, how they have accommodated the regional diversity and cultural diversity in the constitution. And I told that the leaders of Belgium are very cautious and they are very brilliant. They wanted peace to be promoted in the country. They wanted to unite the people. So they have amended the constitution between 1970 and 1993 nearly 4 times. And they have made so many features in their constitution which was found to be innovative. That's why even the other European countries also, they started to follow the Belgium constitution model. It was very innovative. More, even though it is complicated, the ideas that were given in the Belgium constitution model was very innovative. That's why the other European countries, they started to choose Brussels as the headquarters of European Union, where in the constitution, the Belgium constitution, where they have completely accommodated the cultural and regional differences in the constitution. All these things we have seen. And after that, I told about why power sharing is desirable. Why it is desirable? There were 2 different set of reasons we have seen. One is prudential reason, another one is moral reason. So what is prudential reason? After carefully calculating the losses and gains, they have brought the prudential reasons. These prudential reasons, so it has brought, it will definitely bring the better outcomes in the country, in the society. And there are other set of reasons already we have seen, that is moral reason, which are very valuable. And all these things we have seen. And now we are going to talk about different forms of power sharing. What are the different forms of power sharing? And we are going to talk about, there are 4 different forms of power sharing. And already this lesson completely talks about the important foundational, it was the power sharing principle, which was the foundation of the democratic form of government. If a particular organ or if a particular person has got the power completely in his hand, think about the others in the society. Think about the diverse group in the society. If a particular person has got the power in his hand, and if he is not willing to share his power with others in the society, imagine the condition, imagine the situation in the country. Definitely that will lead to disintegration of the country. So here we are going to see what are the various forms of power sharing. We are going to talk about how is power shared between different organs of the government. That is, there are 3 different organs of the government: legislature, executive and judiciary. And the next one we are going to talk about how is power shared among different levels of the government. That is, between the central government, state government and local self-government. The third one we are going to talk about power sharing between the different social groups in the country. How power is shared between the different social groups in the country. And the last one we are going to talk about power sharing between the pressure groups and political parties. So we are going to see one by one in detail. So today we are going to discuss about the different forms of power sharing in modern democracy. What are the different forms of power sharing? We are going to see in detail. Are you ready, children? You please be attentive. So in between I will be asking questions also. So we are going to see different forms of power sharing in modern democracy. So here the idea of power sharing has emerged in opposition to the notions of undivided political power. When this idea has come, when this idea of power sharing has come, when there was in opposition to the notions of undivided political power, realize a situation where in a particular country the political power is undivided, when there is no division, when there is no power sharing in a particular country. So what will happen to the country? What will happen to the people in the society? So there will be conflicts among the people in the society, which will lead to a civil war like situation. So for a long time it was believed that all power of a government must reside in one person. So, for a long time what they have decided, the power of the government should reside on one person or group of persons who are located at a particular place. For a long time what they have decided, power should be, power should rest on a particular person or group of persons who are located at a particular place. It was felt that if the power to decide is dispersed, it would not be possible to take quick decisions. So what they have thought, if they are going to, if the power has to be dispersed, so if the power has to be, if they are going to spread the powers, if they are going to involve the sharing of powers, in such a case, what is the difficulty, what they were saying about the difficulty? It is not possible to take quick decisions. So it is not possible to arrive at quick decisions if power has to be dispersed. So quick decision is not possible. And to enforce them, so it is very difficult to enforce those decisions. So decision making will be, very delayed. At the same time, it is very difficult to enforce these, to enforce the issues. But these notions have changed with the emergence of democracy. All these are old notions. So what they thought, when powers has to be dispersed, so it is very difficult to take decisions, at the same time to enforce the laws. So it was a old notion. But what is the modern view? As democracies has been emerged, as democracies have been evolved, all these notions have been completely changed. So one basic principle of democracy is that people are the source of political power. What is the basic principle of a democracy? Who plays a greater role? People plays a greater role in the political power. So they are the source of the political power. Who are the source of the political power? People in the country, they play a greater role. They are the source of the political power. In a democracy, people rule themselves through institutions. So in a democracy, how people are ruled? People are ruled through institutions. We are going to talk about 3 different institutions in our country. One is legislature, the other one is executive, the third one is judiciary. So in a country, people are ruled through institutions. So here, in a democracy, people rule through institutions, self-government. In a good democratic government, due respect is given to diverse group. So if it is a good democratic form of government, if it is a good democratic form of country, so definitely what will happen? The people, they will respect the minority section's interest, the minority section's ideas, their aspirations, that is the ideas of different diverse groups. The notions of different diverse groups will be promoted. They will take into account the ideas of different diverse groups. Whichever groups are there in a particular country, their notions, their ideas, their beliefs, their feelings will be given more preference. So they will be respecting the feelings, ideas, aspirations of diverse group in the society. Therefore, it follows that in a democracy, political power should be distributed. So in a modern democracy, what is the principle? Power should be distributed between as many citizens as possible. So power should not be, should not be concentrated on the hands of a particular person. Power should be distributed among the citizens, as many citizens as possible. So power should be distributed among as many citizens as possible. That is the modern form of democracy. So here, in modern democracies, power sharing arrangements can take many forms. So we are discussing about the power sharing arrangements in modern democracy. So in modern democracy, power sharing arrangement has taken so many forms. We are going to see different forms of power sharing arrangements in modern democracy. Let us look some of the common arrangements. So one by one we are going to talk about the different forms of power sharing in modern democracy. The first one, power sharing among different organs of the government. So the first one is, how is power shared among the different organs of the government? This can be otherwise called as horizontal distribution of power sharing, horizontal distribution of power sharing, or this can be asked as why horizontal distribution of power sharing acts as checks and balances. So here there is this question can be asked in a different way. So whichever way the question is asked, the answer will be similar. The way of asking questions will be different, but answer will be similar. So here we are going to talk about the power sharing among the different organs of the government. That is the first form of power sharing in modern democracy. So what is the first one? How is power shared? How is power shared among the different organs of the government? So we are going to say the first form of power sharing in modern democracy. That is, how is power shared among the different organs? So what are the three different organs here? One is legislature, other one is executive, the third one is judiciary. So we are going to say how power is shared among the three different organs. Who are the three different organs here? One is legislature, the other one is executive, the third one is judiciary. So this can be otherwise called as horizontal distribution of power sharing. So this is otherwise called as horizontal distribution of power sharing because it allows different organs of the government. Why it is called as horizontal distribution of power sharing? Because it allows different organs of the government at the same level to exercise different powers. So why it is called as horizontal distribution? Because it allows the different organs of the government at the same level to exercise different powers. So what is the first one? The modern form, in the modern form of democracy, the first form of power sharing is power is shared among different organs. So what are the three different organs I told you? Legislature, executive and judiciary. This can be otherwise called as horizontal distribution of power sharing. Why it is horizontal distribution of power sharing? Because power is shared among the different organs at the same level where each organ will have different powers. So all the three institutions are at the same level but they will exercise different powers. So we can call it as horizontal distribution of power sharing. Next, it allows different organs of the government placed at the same level to exercise different powers. So here, all the three different organs, what are they? Legislature, executive and judiciary, they are placed at a different level and they will place at the same level and they will exercise different powers. Even though they are placed at the same level, each organ will exercise different powers. So we can call it as horizontal distribution of power sharing, or power is shared between three different organs of the government. So here, such a separation ensures that none of the organ exercise unlimited power. No organ has got unlimited power. There are three different organs. One is legislature, the second one is executive, the third one is judiciary. All these organs are placed at the same level, but they will exercise different powers. None of the organs, whether it is a legislature or executive or judiciary, has unlimited power. Neither of these organs has got unlimited power. So here, and such a separation ensures that none of the organs can exercise unlimited power. Each organ checks the other organs. So each organ is checking the other organs. This results in balance of power among various institutions. As each organ is checking the other organ, this results in the balance of power among various institutions or various organs in the country. So in the government. So when you talk about the modern form of democracy, the first one we are discussing. What is the first one? How is power shared among the different organs? So what are the three different organs? Legislature, executive and judiciary. Who is a legislature? Those who are making laws. Those who are making laws, we can call them as, what is it? A legislature. Who is a executive? Those who are executing the laws, we can call them as executives. And who is a judiciary? Those who are maintaining the justice in the country, we can call them as judiciary. So here, power is shared among three different organs: legislature, executive and judiciary. And all these organs are placed at the same level, but they have different powers. Even though they are placed at the same level, they will exercise different powers, and moreover, no organ has got unlimited power. So neither legislature, executive nor judiciary, neither of these organs, they don't have unlimited power. So every organ has got their own powers. Neither of these organ has got unlimited power, and moreover, one organ is checking the other organ. So as one organ is checking the other organ, so it results in the balance of power. It results in the exact balance of power among the different organs in the government or among the different institutions in the country. So we can call this horizontal distribution of power sharing as checks and balances. One organ is checking the other. One organ is checking the other organ. As a result, what is happening? There is exact balance. What is the balance of power, which results in the exact balance of power. So we can call it as checks and balances. As one organ is checking the other organ, there is exact checking of exact balance of powers among the different institutions. So we can otherwise call this system as checks and balances. So the first one is power sharing among the different organs. What are they? Legislature, executive and judiciary. And here, even though all these organs at the same level, they exercise different powers. Even though they are at the same level, they exercise different powers. And neither, whether it is a legislature or executive or judiciary, no organ has got unlimited power. Their powers are limited. No organ can enjoy unlimited power. Moreover, when you talk about each organ is checking the other organ, as a result, there is exact balance of power among the different institutions in the government. So we can call this way of power sharing, we can call it as checks and balances, because one organ is checking the other organ, and we can call this method as checks and balances. So horizontal distribution of power sharing, otherwise called as checks and balances, because each organ is supervising the other organ. As a result, there is exact balance of power among the different organs in the government. Last year, we studied in a democracy, even though ministers and government officials exercise power, working of institutions, we would have studied last year. So, even though ministers and the government officials exercise power, they are responsible to the parliament. Even though the ministers, executives, these people are coming under executives. Even though ministers or government officials, they have power, what is that? They are answerable to the parliament or legislative assembly. Even though the government officials or the ministers, even though they have power, they are responsible. For whom they are responsible? They are responsible to the parliament or state legislative assemblies. Already we have seen this in last year. They can check the functioning of executives or laws made by the legislatures. So here what is happening? They are responsible for the parliament or state legislative assembly. Although judges are appointed by the executive, even though judges, they are in the third category, even though the judges are appointed by the executives, they can check the functioning of the executives and the laws which were, passed by the legislature or laws made by the legislature. This arrangement is called as system of checks and balances. So here there are three different organs, that is legislature, executive and judiciary, and all these organs are placed at same level. So no organ, and these organs will have different powers. No organ can exercise unlimited, no organ has got unlimited powers. Moreover, when you talk about each organ is supervising the other organ, as a result, the power is completely balanced among the various institutions in the government. For example, the government officials and the ministers, and even though they have to be responsible, even though they have the law, even though they are the people who play a greater role in the government, they are responsible to the parliament as well as the legislative assembly. Whenever even the judges, already you know that the third category, that is the third organ, the judges, even though the judges are appointed by the executives, what is the work of the, what is the function of the judiciary? What they will do? They will, they will check the laws made by the legislature as well as the laws which were carried out by the executives. So even though judges are appointed by the executives, so these judges, they have the right, they have the authority to check the laws passed by the legislature as well as the laws which were carried out by the executive. As a result, there is a check between the balance of powers which acts as a check between the different organs of the government. So we can call these systems as checks and balances, because each organ is checking the other organ. No organ has got unlimited power. They have, different organs have different powers. They can exercise different powers. No organ enjoys unlimited power, and there is complete balance of power among the various institutions in the government. As judges are appointed by the executives, they have a authority to check over the work done by the executives, the laws executed by the people, government officials and ministers, as well as the laws which were implemented in the legislature. And in this way, as each organ is checking the other organ, this can be otherwise called as checks and balances. So they will be asking one question: how is power shared among different organs of the government, different organ? Or they will be asking you, what is horizontal distribution of power sharing? Horizontal line. That is, from left to right, horizontal line. So what is horizontal distribution of power sharing? Or what is in other way it can be asked as, what are the how power is shared among the different organs in the country? And this can be asked otherwise as, why is horizontal distribution of power sharing called as checks and balances? So what you will write? In modern democracy, the first form we have discussed, power is shared among different organs. So what are the different organs here? Legislature, executive and judiciary. And here, even though each organs, all these organs are placed at the same level, but they will exercise different powers. No organ can enjoy unlimited power, and moreover, one organ is checking the other organ. For example, even though the judges are appointed by the executives, they are supervising the executives, work done by the executives as well as the laws made by the legislature. In this way, one organ is checking the other organ. So we can call this as checks and balances. So this form of power sharing, otherwise called as checks and balances. So there are three different ways of asking the question here. One is, what is horizontal distribution of power sharing? What is second one? How is power shared among the different organs of the government? What is the third one? Why horizontal distribution of power sharing is called as checks and balances? So for everything the answer is same. Understand? The next one, we are going to say other form of power sharing, that is, how is power shared at different levels? How is power shared at different levels of the government? This can be otherwise called as vertical. What do you mean by vertical division of power sharing? Top to bottom. The top to bottom, a line that is drawn from top to bottom, vertical. when a line is drawn from west to east, it can be called as horizontal. So here we are going to talk about the other form of power sharing, that is how is power shared at different levels of the government. How is power shared at the different levels of the government? This is otherwise called as vertical distribution of power sharing. So here when you talk about our country, there are three different forms of government. The government at the center, so what is that we can call the government for the country, so we can call it a central government. And below the central government there is another division we can call a state government. Under the state government we are having local self-government also, where panchayats and municipalities are included. So here we are going to see that is how is power shared between the lower level, between the higher level and the lower level government. How is power shared between the higher level and the lower level government. So what is the higher level government in our country? The government for the entire country, we can call it as central government. So under the central government, what is the other government? Where when the country is joined to so many states, so under the central government we can call it as a state government. And under the state government there is another, what is the type of government? There is a lower level, the lower level government, we can call it as local self-government. So under local self-government we can, it includes actually panchayats and municipalities. So we are going to say how is power shared among governments at different levels. A general government for the entire country, the government for the entire country, so we can call it as central government. So in our country, the government for the entire country, for whole country, the government for the whole country or entire country, we can call it as central government. And the governments at the provincial or regional level, when the government is at the province, when it's a provincial government, sometimes when the country has been divided into so many states, the country will be divided into so many states for administration purpose. So how do we call that a government? We can call it as provincial government, or it can be called as a state government. If a particular country has divided into so many provinces, or if a particular country is divided into so many regions, it can be regional government or provincial government. Or if the country is divided into so many states, it can be called as state government. So what is the first level of the government? The first level of the government is the government for the entire country. So we can call it as central government. What is the second level of the government? When the country is divided into so many regions. If it is so many regions, it can be called as regional government. If it is so many provinces, if the country is divided to so many provinces, we can call it provincial government. If the country is divided to so many states, we can call it as state governments. So the central government, that is the government for the entire country or the government for the whole country, first level of the government. What is the second level of the government? Depending upon the division of the country, it can be a provincial government if there are provinces, if it are regional government if the country is divided into so many regions, or a state government if the country is divided into so many states. So here the second one, we are going to talk about the how power can be shared among the different levels. So what is that? A government for the entire country, that is called a central government, higher level government, higher level. And governments at the provincial or regional level, when the government at the, what is that, provincial level or regional level, at the state level, so we can call it as state governments. Such a government for the entire country is usually called federal government. So in India, so we are having three different types of government. What is the first type of government? That is the government for the entire country, the government for the whole nation. So we can call it a central government. And if the country has been divided into so many provinces, or if the country has been divided into so many regions, or if the country is divided into so many states, so it can be called as provincial government, or it can be called as regional governments, or it can be called as state governments. So the second level of the government is provincial government, or regional government, or state governments. The next one, in India, we refer to it as the central or union government, the topmost level, the topmost level of the, the higher level of the government. So higher level, the government at the higher level, so we can call it a central government, that is the government for the whole country. the government for the entire country, the topmost level, the government at the topmost level. So we can call it as central government, or it can be called as union government. So the government at the topmost level, we can call it as, or the government for the whole country or the entire country, it can be called as central government or union government. Below that, what is that? The country can be divided into so many states for administration purposes. It can be a state government. Or if it has been divided into so many regions, it can be called as regional government. If it is divided into so many provinces, it can be called as provincial government. So second level of the government is regional government or provincial government, or it can be a state government. The governments at the provincial or regional level are called by different names in different countries. So, in India, how the central government has been divided, how the country has been divided? The country has been divided to so many states. So, the second level of the government in our country, we can call it as state governments. So, I told about the first level of the government for the entire country, we can call it a central government or union government. And for administrative convenience, what we have done, the country has been divided into so many states. So here the second level of the government in our country, it is a state government. Then this system is not followed in all countries. In our country, we are having the higher level of the government is central government or union government. The next level, the second level of the government is state government, because our country has been divided into so many states for administrative purposes. It cannot be similar. It will not be similar in other countries. There are many countries where there are no provincial or state governments. In many countries you can see there will be no provincial government or there will be no regional governments. But in those countries like ours, where there are different levels of the government, the constitution clearly lays down the powers of different levels of the government. So even though they don't have, in some of the countries they don't have regional governments or state governments, but when you see the constitution, it talks about the powers of different levels of the government. So in the constitution it has been clearly mentioned about the powers of different levels of the government. When you talk about Belgium, already we have seen in Belgium, there are three different forms of government in Belgium. What are they? Central government, state government, and what is the third level government there? Community government we have seen. Likewise, when you talk about our country, the first level of government is central government or union government. What is the second level of government? Is a state government. What is the third level of government? Local self-government. Is it not? The third tier system also existing now. So we can call it as local self-government. Who are they? What are the divisions in local self-government? Panchayats and municipalities. So here, that is why they did it in Belgium but was refused in Sri Lanka. So in Belgium what happened? Power sharing arrangement. They have accommodated the regional differences and cultural differences. It's not in the constitution. They have brought Belgium constitution model. They have brought amendments. Nearly 4 times they have amended the constitution between 1970 and 1993, and they have accommodated the social and cultural diversity, regional and cultural diversities, and that's why where it is not possible in case of Sri Lanka. It was not Sri Lanka. The leaders are not having any belief in power sharing principle. They don't want to share the power with other people, other set of people, other diverse groups in the society. That's why what happened to the country? It has been disintegrated. But when you talk about Belgium, what happened? As they have carefully accommodated the regional and cultural diversities, people were able to live together. They promoted peace in the country. They developed mutual understanding among the diverse groups in the society. They promoted the leaders. They have promoted for national integration. The same principle can be extended to levels of the government lower than the state government, such as municipalities and panchayat. So that's why we have now the third tier of government also existed for administrative convenience. So state governments have been further divided into what is that? Local self-governments. So under local self-governments there were two divisions. One side we can say panchayats, the other side we can see municipalities. So panchayats and municipalities, they fall under the local self-government. Let us call division of powers involving higher and lower level of the government. So, when the power is shared between the higher level and lower level of the government, when the power is shared between the higher level and lower level of the government, we can call such a form of power sharing as vertical distribution of power sharing. Or it can be asked like this, the question can be asked like this: how is power shared among the different levels of the government? How is power shared among the different tiers of the government? Or they will be asking, what do you mean by vertical distribution of power sharing? Vertical, top to bottom. From the topmost level to the bottommost level. Who is the topmost level government? That is the government for the entire country. When you talk about our country, the government for the entire country, we can call it a central government. What is second level? Second tier in our country, second type. What is that? The central government has been divided into state governments. That is the second level, second type. And what is the third level? For administrative convenience, the state government has been divided into local self-government, third tier system. So, who are there in third tier system, in the local self-government? Panchayats and municipalities. This is our country where power is shared among the top level to the bottom level government. What is the top level government? Central government. What is the second tier or second type of the government? State governments. What is the third tier or third type of government? Local self-government. Who are there in local self-government? Who are the two groups included? Panchayats and municipalities. And when you compare, when you talk about Belgium, in Belgium also they have followed what is the vertical distribution of power sharing. So what is it actually? How is power shared at different levels of the government? What is the first level of the government? What is the topmost level of the government in Belgium? Central government. What is the second one? The second tier or second system or second, what is the type? We can call it a state government. Apart from central and state government in Belgium, there is a third tier system. We can call it as community government. Already we have seen community government, which is elected by the members of one language community, one linguistic group. It can be a Dutch, French or German. Already we have seen. Moreover, those community government, they have the power to discuss on culture, education, language related issues. Already we have seen. So here, the second form of power sharing is power is shared at different levels of the government, at different tiers of the government, or power is shared from the topmost level to the bottommost level government. This can be called as vertical division of power sharing. So the topmost, the government for the entire country, central government. Again, the second tier, we have state government in our country. The third tier existed, we had local self-government, where panchayats and municipalities were included. When you talk about Belgium, central government is there, state government is there, the third tier government is community government there, which is elected by the members of one language group, one linguistic group. Either it can be a Dutch, German, or it can be a French. And this is the second form of power sharing in modern democracy. Now we are going to see the third form of power sharing. Previously we have talked about power sharing among different organs. The next one, we have talked about the power sharing at different levels of the government, at different tiers. What are the different, how power is shared at different tiers of the government. The third one, we are going to talk about how is power shared among different social groups, in the country. For familiar example, the very famous power, as already I told you, this lesson completely stresses that in a democratic form of government, there should be power sharing principle. So here, the third form of power sharing is how is power shared among the different social groups. The very familiar example is Belgium. Already we have seen in the Belgium constitution model, they have accommodated regional differences and cultural diversities. Even though there are two different linguistic groups in Belgium, one side there are Dutch speaking, the other side there are French speaking. But what the leaders, what they have done, how they have accommodated these two people, they started to respect the feelings of minority section in the country as well as in the capital. In the country, the minority were French, whereas in the capital, the minority were Dutch speaking. So in the constitution, what they have done, they have given equal representation for both the languages, for both the linguistic groups. So they wanted to develop peace in the country. They wanted to promote their mutual understanding among the people, among the different linguistic groups. That is the case. When you talk about our country, the power is shared among different social groups in the society. For example, we are having what is that? We are having disadvantaged groups in our country. Those who don't have privileges. In olden days, in ancient days, these people, Harijans, for example, untouchables, they don't have any privileges in the society. They don't have any concessions in the society. They don't have educational opportunities. They don't have employment opportunities. So their economic condition was very was very bad, was very poor. The economic condition was very poor. And slowly what happened, our leaders after independence, what they have done, they have made a constitution and they have accommodated these Harijans, these untouchables, disadvantaged groups in the society. They were given educational opportunities and employment opportunities, and moreover they were given reserved constituencies. These people, they can able to contest in the election. These people, they have the power to contest in the election. So representative, we can call term as reserved constituencies, where in those places only the disadvantaged groups, that is untouchables, the Harijans, they can participate. SCs, they can participate, they can contest in the election, they can win in the election. So we can call it as reserved constituencies. So how is power shared among the different social groups? The very familiar example is Belgium. Even though diverse groups are there, different language speaking people are there, Dutch, French and German, there were power sharing arrangements. Power sharing arrangements were made by the Belgium leaders, political leaders of Belgium. So they had a strong belief in power sharing because they wanted to promote integration, national integration of the country. So we are going to see the next one. How is power shared among different social groups such as religious and linguistic group? Religion means what? How is power shared among different religion? What is linguistic? How is power shared among the different linguistic groups? When you talk about power sharing among different linguistic groups, we can quote example Belgium. Even though there are 3 different languages spoken by the people, one side Dutch, the other side French, the third side it is German. So even though different language speaking people were there, how they were able to live together, how they promoted peace, the leaders, how they promoted peace in the country, how they promoted national integration. So community government in Belgium is a good example of this arrangement. When you talk about the power sharing among the different social groups, we can give one example about community government in Belgium. Community government is elected by the members of one linguistic group. It can be a Dutch, French or German, and moreover whichever language group or whichever place they live, no problem, wherever they live, no problem. And this community government, it has the power to decide on culture, language and education related issues. So here in some countries there are constitutional and legal arrangements whereby socially weaker sections and women are represented in the legislatures and administration. So in some countries what happened, they have given concessions for weaker section in the society. They have given privileges because their when you talk about their economic background, it was found to be very poor. They were found to have poor economic background. They were considered as a weaker section in the society. For example, we can call it as we can call the people SC/ST untouchables. And even women also were considered inferior in the society. They were considered weaker section in the society. They were not in olden days. When you talk about the olden days, they were not given educational opportunities. Women, they were not allowed to get education. They didn't get the employment opportunities. All these problems are faced by how they were positioned in the society. They were treated as inferior in the society. They were treated as weaker section in the society. Last year, we studied a system of reserved constituencies. In 9th standard, we would have studied electoral politics. One lesson we have discussed, we would have discussed last year. There, we have studied about reserved constituencies. What are reserved constituencies? The constituencies which are particularly meant for SC/ST, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, who are considered as disadvantaged groups in the society. So we can call these, disadvantaged groups, SC/ST, they can contest in the election in those constituencies. We can call them as reserved constituencies. So here in assemblies as well as parliaments in our country, this type of arrangement is meant to give a space in the government and administration to diverse social groups who otherwise what they will have? They will have Otherwise, what is this example of this arrangement? Otherwise, think that various these in some countries, for example, they wanted to accommodate the diverse groups in the country. If they are not going to accommodate, if we are not going to respect the feelings of the diverse groups in the society, what is the disadvantaged groups in the society, the privileges are not given, if concessions are not given, if their interests are not promoted, if they are going to neglect, the government is going to neglect the demands of the weaker section in the society, definitely what will happen? What type of these weaker sections, what they feel that they are aliens in the country. We have already seen the situation in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan Tamils, what they have done, even though they have placed their demands to the government, their demands are not satisfied. So what type of feeling they had in their mind? They thought that they are aliens in the society. They were strangers in the society. So if in the constitution, if there are in a particular country, if diverse groups are there, if their demands, if their demands and interests are not promoted, what will happen? So they will have a feeling of alienation. That will disintegrate the country. That's why the leaders, what they have done, they have made some arrangements. They have made some arrangements in the constitution. They have made some changes in the constitution, and they started to accommodate the diverse group in the constitution, because in the power sharing already I told about the principle of power sharing. So a democratic form of government, power sharing principle is very, very important. The power sharing enables the people to live together. It promotes peace in the country. It promotes for national integration. So in many countries, they wanted to accommodate the diverse groups in the constitution. They started to give concessions for the diverse group in the society, so that they can also get. So what they have done, they started to provide educational opportunities and employment opportunities to enrich the economic standard of the disadvantaged groups. In our country, when you talk about our own country, we have made arrangements in the constitutions. We have accommodated these diverse groups. How we have accommodated these disadvantaged groups? By giving educational opportunities and employment opportunities. So these disadvantaged groups, by getting education as well as employment opportunities, their standard of living will be enriched. At the same time, these people, after all, they are also human beings. They also wanted to take public popularity. They also wanted to gain public popularity for their convenience. What we have done, what the government has done, they started to include reserved constituencies. What are reserved constituencies? Constituencies which are completely meant for disadvantaged groups, that is SC/STs. So we have created reserved constituencies for these disadvantaged groups, for the SC/STs, so that by taking part in public popularity, by taking part in politics, they will also get popularity. So this is the third form of power sharing, which is known as power sharing among the different social groups. That's why, as power sharing principle is is the foundation for the modern democracies, every social group has to be accommodated. That's why the leaders are very cautious. They started to accommodate, they started to give the educational opportunities, employment opportunities to disadvantaged groups. Apart from that, they started to create, in our country, when you talk about our country, the disadvantaged groups, they are getting education now. They are getting educational opportunities. And they are getting employment opportunities. And if you see the economic status now, economic condition of those people, it has been enriched. And at the same time, these people, we are very proud to say that these people, they are also enjoying public popularity, because our constitution has created reserved constituencies for these people, for the disadvantaged group, for the SC/ST. So these people, they can take part they can contest in the election, and they can show the majority, and they can win in the election. So all these have done in order to promote national integration, in order to develop mutual understanding among the different diverse groups, in order to promote peace in the country, in order to make the people to be united. So this is the third form of power sharing. The last one, we are going to talk about how power is shared among the different political parties and pressure groups. So how power is shared among different political parties, pressure groups and movement groups. For example, here in a democracy, the citizens must have freedom to choose among various contenders for power. In democratic form of government, the citizens have got a choice. Is it not? They have the choice in our country. In a democratic form of government, citizens, they have a choice to elect the representatives, to choose the rulers, Nobody can compel them. It is their decision. It is their wish. They can choose anybody as the leader, as a ruler. So, in a democratic form of government, people have got citizens have got a choice to elect their representatives. Nobody can compel them. Nobody can force them to vote for a particular person. It is the people's wish to elect the particular representative. In contemporary democracies, this takes the form of competition among different political parties in order to win in the election. So, different political parties, there exists different political parties where you can see competition among the different political parties. During the election time, when there is election, what will happen? You can see different political parties. You can see competition among the candidates who belong to different political parties. What they will do? Each political parties, the candidate who belong to a particular political party, what they will do? They will bring their programs and policies. So during the election campaigns, what they will do? They wanted to attract the voters. So through their policies and programs, they wanted to attract the voters because they wanted to win in the election. They have to prove their majority. They wanted to rule the government. They wanted to rule the country. They want to rule the state. So what they will do? There may be competition. So different political parties will be there. Is it not free and fair election in our country? Free and fair election. What is that? Different political parties are allowed to contest in the election. So the candidates who belong to different political parties, among the candidates, there may be competition. So what will happen? Every candidate, what they wanted to win in the election. So what they will do? Every political party, they will bring their policies and programs, their own policies and programs in order to attract the voters towards them. So here, the third form of power sharing is how is power shared between different political parties, pressure groups and movement groups. Control or influence those in power. In a democracy, the citizens must have freedom to choose among the various contenders for power. In contemporary democracies, this takes the form of competition among different parties. So in modern democracies, what is that? We can see competition among the different political parties, free and fair election. Every political party is allowed to contest in the election. There may be competition among the different political parties. Such competition ensures that power does not remain in one hand. As a result of this political competition, what is the idea? Power cannot remain in the hands of a particular person. Power cannot remain in the hands of a particular party. So the power may change from one person to another person, or the power may change from one political party to another political party. Such competition ensures that power does not remain in one hand. In the long run, power is shared among different political parties that represent different ideologies and social groups. So in due course, what will happen? Power will not be remaining in the hands of a particular political party or on a particular person. It may be changing from one person to another person, or it may be changing from one political party to other political party. So here I want to introduce a particular pressure groups and movement groups. Who are pressure groups? Pressure groups are organizations. What they will do? They will pressurize the political parties. They will influence the policies of the political parties. How they will influence the policies of political parties? By protesting. They will involve themselves in protest as well as in demonstrations. They will be involving themselves in protests and demonstrations. So who are the pressure groups and movement groups? So I want to talk about pressure groups and movement groups here. So pressure groups and movement groups, they are they control or influence those in power. So pressure groups are movement groups. Who are the people? They are the organization. Pressure groups are the organizations. Those who influence the political parties, those who influences the policies of political parties, what they will do? Either they will involve in protest or they will be involving themselves in demonstrations. The very familiar example, Jallikattu issue. You would have heard about the Jallikattu issue in here. So what happened? Who played a greater role there? Who played a greater role? You would have known students' organization, is it not? Students' organization, they played a greater role in Jallikattu. Is it not? So like that, these pressure groups. So when you talk about Jallikattu issue, who are the pressure groups there? Students' organization. Students' organization, they played a greater role. They contest. What is that? They involved in protest in Marina Beach. Already you know. So they involved themselves in protest in Marina Beach. So here students organization, they are the pressure groups. What they have done, they have influenced the political parties, and finally what happened? So Supreme Court has passed the order to conduct Jallikattu. So here in case of Jallikattu issue, students organization played a greater role. So when you talk about students organization, they are coming under pressure groups, those who influence the political policies of the political parties either by protesting or by involving in demonstrations. So here when you talk about, sometimes this kind of sharing can be direct when two or more parties. One more thing I want to tell you. When a particular political party does not get majority in the election, when there are two major parties, neither of the party doesn't get neither of the party got the majority in the election. So what they will do, these two parties, they should have a alliance. So what they will do, they will, in order to run the government, they wanted to show the majority. Neither of these are not able to show the majority in the election. So what they have done, what they can have, how they can behave, these two political parties, they can form an alliance. So they can align, they can form an alliance, and we can call it as multi-party system. If their alliance is elected, they form a coalition government and thus share power. In a democracy, we find interest groups such as those of traders, business people, industrialists, farmers and industrial workers. They will also have a share in government power. Not only the, I told about the pressure groups and movement groups, how they have influenced the policies of the political parties. Not only those people, not only those pressure groups and movement groups, there were other set of people like business people, traders are also there, those who have involved there, those who have shared their power in the government. So this is the fourth form of power sharing, where power is shared among different political parties, pressure groups and movement groups. So in a country, when a particular party doesn't get the majority, so two or more parties, they will come closer and they will form a government. We can call a coalition government. So either through participation in governmental committees or bringing influence on the decision making process. So when you talk about the pressure groups and movement groups, what they will do, they will influence the policies of the different political parties. How they will influence the policies? They will be involving in strikes, they will be involving in demonstrations, they will be involving in protests. So that what they will do, those policies will be will be carried over. It will be solved. All those these people, they will involve in all those issues by involving themselves in strikes, by conducting demonstrations, and finally they will solve the problem. So the last one is, how is power shared among the different political parties, pressure groups and movement groups. The pressure groups and movement groups are playing a greater role. Organizations, they are the organizations, those who influence the policies of the political parties either by protesting or by conducting demonstrations. So up to this I have completed, children. So I want everybody to go through this page. This is very, very important 5-mark question. So they will be asking you, what are the different forms of power sharing in modern democracy? So up to this I am concluding, children. So I will be sending the homework also.